we are, what we kind of do, what our vision, mission, purpose is. And if you guys have any questions, I am here to answer them as best I can. So Blackout and Proud was founded in 2017 with 15 community partners in the Columbus area on the back of Pride 2017. I'm not sure if you all are familiar. Some of you said you've been here for a while and some are new to the community. But there was a protest at the beginning of Pride that resulted in some members being arrested, later known as the Black Pride 4. So the founding members of BOP really just wanted to curate a space for those at the intersection of being Black and queer. So that's how BOP was formed. Those 15 folks got together, just kind of put their brains together and decided, we really need more permanent space for Black and queer folks in Columbus, because maybe the queer orgs in the city aren't representing us as best they can. So, can we represent ourselves? So that's how BOP was founded. Just a few, movers and shakers in the city got together, put their brains together, and we were founded underneath the umbrella of, like I said, being Black and queer. We are a federally recognized 501c3, which of course means that we are a legitimate nonprofit. So if you give your money to us, we promise we will do the right things with it. That's essentially what that means. So with that, our purpose is to provide a safer space for and by Black LGBTQ individuals that advocates, educates, and inspires. We try to really take that to heart. I feel like I'm saying a lot, but I don't have this memorized. So I apologize. If you have any questions while I'm talking, feel free to save them to the end and I'll try to answer them. Since our inception, we've become known for our signature events. So each year we have a few events that we have on the regular basis, one being our Blackout, which is really just a meetup for Black queer folks to get together, talk about subjects and issues that fall underneath all the folks at that intersection of Black and queer. We do those pre-COVID, of course, quarterly. So we would have those get-togethers. We do it potluck style. I'm not sure what they'll look like, post-pandemic. Because I don't think anybody wants to do a potluck anytime soon, but that's what they used to look like, to just get together, talk. We would have a DJ to just kind of provide a vibe, and it was just a really nice hangout of people, a safe space for everyone to get together, because that is really our purpose, is to really provide a safer space for ourselves and those that fall into the community with us. Outside of our Blackouts, we also do an annual art and fashion show called Heroes Among Us. We had that show. We've had it in a few different spaces across the city. We hope to have it again in 2022, but that depends on what Omicron looks like. But it's an art and fashion show. We're actually planning on expanding out to hair as well. So that will be great, just to showcase the artistry that queer folks have, because, we're really creative beings, so we really want to showcase that artwork. So whatever your medium in art is, we provide a space for you to show that. For fashion designers, anything from t-shirt designers to people who actually, needle and sewing machine. So we provide a space for all of that in our art and fashion show. We also have a yearly LGBTQ women's conference, which is just a great opportunity to get together. It's been a virtual since we've had it, so I'm sure it will continue to be that way, where we have anything from physical well-being all the way to spiritual well-being, where we talk on different levels of, what it means to be a queer Black woman or a queer woman of color. So that really drives us. About 4 days over the weekend. We usually start with some, exercise and things like that, just to get people warmed up. And then the last day of the conference, we do kind of a social thing like this here, where it's everyone getting together, has their cocktails, and we just kind of talk through everything. So really, we just, like I said, strive to be an open market for people to be able to share their thoughts and feelings and feel like they're in a safer space with those who have like-minded individuals. So outside of that, I'm trying to think. We do work with other orgs in the city, queer orgs and non-queer orgs. We work with CBIF, the Columbus Black International Film Festival. to bring artistry to the city. We just did the film festival. I believe that was August. I could be incorrect, but I believe it was August that CBIF was. We've also merged with Equitas to do some HIV testing and education across the city. So it really just depends if it aligns with our values and we feel like it's going to overarch and help the Black and queer community. If it helps them together, great. But even if it helps expand them outside of one another, that's great as well. And that's what we're here to do. So that's really what Bob does. Our advocacy spreads outside of our signature events as well. Like I said, we partner with different organizations. We use social media to uplift Black and queer people in the community. So if you have social media, which I'm sure all of you do, check us out, Black Out and Proud on Facebook. It's an open forum. So if you have events or anything in the city that you want to promote, you can always put that onto our Facebook page. And then on our Instagram, we uplift Black and queer people as spotlights in the community who are doing great work that we want to just uplift and have more people in the city know, because the more of us that are out there showing ourselves, the more other people feel comfortable to do that as well. So we really want to make sure that we're promoting each other and, lifting each other up on our backs, because that's what we can do if we provide that spotlight. So that is pretty much the gist of Black Out and Proud. Did anybody have any questions? I feel like I was talking really fast, but if you have any questions or any comments, feel free to hop in. I think you're muted.
Okay, sorry. I heard it through the grapevine that you guys have really before the pandemic in-person meetings. I know you'll had great food and drinks at your events. So that is something that I've heard, but
we really do try to have great food at our events. Like I said, our blackouts are potluck style. We try to tap into the members we know can cook fairly well. So we try to go that route with the blackouts, but we usually try to get some type of cater. We have board members that own restaurants. So, we all
I know.
Tap into that. So that makes it a little easier there. We've got an in-house, so it makes it a little nicer.
That's wonderful.
Very cool. Very cool.
I have a question, and I think you may have answered the question and what you were saying, but I was very interested when you mentioned the collaboration to bring films to the area and a film festival maybe. I'd love to hear a little bit more about that. Is that a yearly thing, or I mean, not COVID. I understand there might be, I don't know.
So
yeah.
So we partner with the Columbus Black International Film Festival that is already here. They host events throughout the year, every year, but they wanted to expand their queer allegiance. So they reached out to us because they wanted to bring in a queer Black filmmaker to showcase his work. So they brought him in, they partnered with us to just make sure he could, get here, we could show that, and just to give a wider platform and audience, because, as they may have the Black film audience, but we provide kind of that queer audience. So with us to be able to promote that together. But the film festival does happen yearly. It's been here, the Black Film Festival, I'm going to say probably 10 years. It's been here, if not more. But it usually is held at what is the name? Marchand Auditorium. That's usually where it's held. And they do that downtown on campus. And it's really a great film festival. It's usually a weekend long, so they show different films every day. They usually have people come in, the filmmaker, cast members of the films that they show, to just have a panel discussion and things like that after the film or before. Usually refreshments as well, which we are known for. So it's really great. If you ever have a chance to check it out, it's really awesome.
Awesome. One of the things, this is something that I've spoken with Ebony and also with Letha, and Chris was also active with your group from our side, and then I've known Blackout and Proud from like day one when you guys were formed, like and all of that. And so we do want to, as Zettabytes, we want to collaborate, so if you have events and everything else that you want to promote, let us know because we will plug it equally on the social media. That's what we are doing with all the partnerships we are forming with various organizations.
Wonderful. I
So
will make
just
sure,
keep that in, yeah,
yes, that we get you guys on our marketing list. So that way, when we have events or
right,
other partnerships that we partner with, we can get it out there because we want to
right.
take over Columbus as much as possible. Make it Columbus.
Absolutely.
That's the goal. Like, we're here.
Absolutely.
But
And trust me, diversity and inclusion is extremely important in tech. If you haven't heard that from any of us yet.
absolutely.
So visibility is critical,
Yes,
you know.
absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
awesome.
I
Naomi? Yes.
Yes, thank you. I have just an observation. If I caught that while you have a presence on Facebook,
Yes.
right? And to be honest with you, I have an apprehension against Facebook for a long time, and everything, all the news that like as a person of color and queer person, and like we all know like how Facebook monetizes on hate, um, right? And so I am boycotting Facebook, and I find that it's because everybody is on Facebook, and there is so many good resources by queer people, by Black people, by people of color, by BIPOC, by immigrant, and what happens is that like people like me sometimes are in a dilemma, and I am wondering if there are any plans to have a different platform because organizations like yours are like they can pull people. They have a huge or more significant reach because you are a true social network. You are an actual human social network with an actual cause and actual mission. And if organization for BIPOC people in general start pulling their weight away from Facebook, our voices are going to be felt on one hand, and it might open other new markets that our like people of color, for example, and Black people can invest in, like and allies, like people from our communities in general, with all the different intersection, we can create new opportunities instead of staying within the realm of what I would say, honestly, Facebook has proven itself white supremacist, like by practice, like for practically speaking. And it's like this is the same problem about entrepreneurial Black people and people of color and minority groups and queer groups and women and etc. And it's because these markets are not identified, because the awareness, there is kind of inertia that's necessary, because sometimes you just need to use the tool that's available, that everybody is using. But at the same time, like having a next strategy, like, okay, this is the first step, but don't want you to stay there. We want you to come here. And this is an opportunity to build a new platform or build a new healthier system with different rules. For example, in Women, Lesbians Who Tech Debug Summit, there was an amazing presentation about anti-racist technology. And that would be a huge opportunity to actually apply that. So that was just a kind of between brackets observation. But
I think what you're saying is spot on. So a few things come to mind when you say that. One, absolutely, I think that there is a market out there for essentially all marginalized communities to get together, to get off of platforms like Facebook and Instagram that don't really highlight all that what we do when we're shadow banned and things like that when we're talking about issues that affect our communities. So definitely I believe that there is space for us to leave. Just quite yet, I don't know if we have a place to go. So with that, we do have to use what is at our disposal. So unfortunately, so we're stuck in that place since we do want to be able to connect and collect information from the people that are within our networks. Facebook and Instagram are the largest platforms that allow us to do that at the moment. Not to say that if things do not change, we could not definitely move somewhere else, because we are certainly open to that. So that is definitely something. Now, for those people that want to connect with us that are not on social media, you can just always provide your email on our website, which is blackoutandproud.com. And that way we keep you up to date with our events and things like that we're doing in the community. So you can still be a part of what we do without having to connect with us on social media. So that's always an alternative.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you for that, Naomi and Jill. That's such a powerful and valid point, Naomi, that you brought up. And Jill, I did hear you say, that there are also other avenues to be able to connect, which is the email distribution list, or and that you work with other community partners, of course, and you do have the website. Like, I think we've met on Lesbians Who Text website, through that. So there's other facets, but kudos to you, Naomi, for bringing that up. You're absolutely right. And this insight that you have about that, you're not wrong. Can I just give like my 30-second, maybe 20-second spiel on that? Is I totally get, you mentioned, the last thing you mentioned was, sometimes we have to use what exists. And, even Rini had mentioned, it's all about the visibility. We're trying to make sure we're getting out to as many people. And yes, we are aware, of these things that, I mean, it's uncovered, right? And it had to be uncovered. Just like all of the murders that happen against Black men have to be uncovered. Somebody has to tape it and put it out there. Otherwise, people lie because that's their PR. They're going to lie about it. So it has to come out. And my hope with all of this is that eventually all of this coming out and everybody kind of saying something will improve it from the inside out. And I know that money and greed is a big factor of all this, but and hate creates revenue. I mean, that's such a bottom line type thing in our society. But hopefully people like us, as we talk about it and we're raising awareness about it, and it's not easy. So I just thank you for bringing that up. And I will put Blackout and Proud's website in our chat too, so everybody sees it. But thank you both for that conversation. Does anybody else have anything for Jill?
Hi. Sorry. I guess I did have a question on kind of what kind of support you were looking for, or kind of what would be the, I know yes, how to engage with you, but yes, do you have like new member meetings, kind of like a monthly meeting sort of thing? I guess what would work best, or kind of what would somebody that is interested kind of participating in your organization, how can they best help?
Certainly. So a couple of things. You can get on the email distribution list. That'll tell you when all of our events are. With COVID, pretty much everything has gone virtual. The new member connections were those blackout I was talking about that would happen quarterly. So we're trying to figure out how to transition those into a virtual atmosphere, because we didn't think we would be virtual as long as We we are. So initially it was like, we'll just put a pause on them, but now we've got to figure out how to transition it into a virtual atmosphere and be able to still connect with our people and new people. We've continued to have a social media following for it to grow, and even connecting with you all in Zetabytes to be able to do that. And we're growing, so we want to be able to connect those people and faces with us. So the best thing is to connect with us on social media or email platform to be able to see, what we're doing. But as far as support that that we specifically need, we're looking to grow our board. So if that is something that anybody is interested in, we are always looking for more people to bring their talents to, see what we can do in the community to uplift Black and queer folks. So absolutely, if you are interested, check out our website, see if it's something that you feel like your goals align with, and we would absolutely love to connect.
Jill, are there any specific skill sets or anything that your board currently needs? Specific kinds of people and skill sets that would help you out at the moment?
So we're looking at specific skill sets. We're probably marketing, just to really expand on that. Nobody is a marketing or tech person at the moment, so those are probably our biggest two call outs if we're looking for something specific.
Right. But we'll post it also on our website. I mean, on our LinkedIn profiles, because in LinkedIn pages, typically people who are sort of professionally looking for internship or board position and things like that, might be interested. So I'm taking a note that we're going to do that.
Wonderful. And the last thing before I let you all continue your meeting, we do currently have a community support fund for, BIPOC folks who are suffering through the pandemic or just need a little assistance and upliftment. They can go to our website. We do have gift cards that they can get. We ask very, very simple questions just for database purposes. So nothing really, internal, and we just keep that information for ourselves to be able to turn over, but we give up to $100 in gift cards for people that need that, for hygiene products, to need that for groceries, what have you. We do provide that assistance where, if anybody needs that, and queer folks we know suffer a majority when it comes to homelessness, when it comes to needing those hygiene products, things like that, we suffer more. So we want to make sure that we're getting that out there to let people know that that is available. So if, anyone who can need that assistance, just go to our website, fill out the little Google form, and we try to get back to you within 24 hours.
Awesome. Thanks, Jill.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much for having me.
Please stay on. I mean, we're not doing the cocktail, and come back next time.
Oh.
The double cocktail. All right.
And we usually do a cocktail and a mocktail.
Right. Yes.
We do have
Yes.
members that don't drink, so we do a mocktail as well sometimes. Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Jill. I echo everybody there. And Scott, I'm going to turn it over to you so you can talk to us a little bit about what you do and your topic as well.
Dhruva, just making sure you are recording this, right? Okay.
Yes,
Just to let everybody know, we record this for several reasons, because we do a blog post, so we kind of need that. And when you become a member, we have an exclusive Slack channel that is just exclusive to all the Zeta stars, as we call them. And so, become a member, and you will have access to the video, even if you did not register to attend, if you're a Zeta star. And everybody who's attending, in case they have to drop off, like I know Chris had to drop off at 6, can see the video recording. It is not distributed to, people at large. It is just for our exclusive groups. So.
thank you, Rini. I should have mentioned that earlier. Thank you for covering me.
That's all right. I don't want people to have surprises that they're, on video. So, okay.
Thanks for
And
having
with
me.
that, Scott, take it away.
Thanks, Rini. I appreciate it.
Yep.
Thanks for having me. I'm gonna share my screen. And in doing, got a little bit of a PowerPoint. I don't know for sure if I'm still going to be able to see the WebEx piece of it or not. So I won't see if anybody raises their hand or anything, but I'm really excited to be here with you guys today. I'm Scott Kirkendall. My pronouns are he and they. I want to thank Dhruva and Rini for inviting me here. And I know Chris had to drop off, but I've known Chris for just the last year. We got to participate in a class together called Leap. And he's been a good support for me in those things. So I really just I'm happy to be here and be with you. I'm going to talk a little bit about to be or not to be out of the closet in the workplace, and be yourself authentically in the workplace, what that means, some of the costs of being in the closet, and a little bit about things that you can do to shift yourself out from there. So Dhruva, give me a thumbs up if you can see slides. Okay, awesome. So I am a professional certified coach. I got my coach certification and my energy leadership master practitioner designations from the Institute for Professional Excellence in Coaching, short name because we love acronyms, right? Everybody calls it IPEC. And I got that in 2015 and founded Go Be You Coaching. I help LGBTQ plus entrepreneurs step out of the closet in order to reliably attract business for themselves and accelerate their profits. I also help LGBTQ plus professionals step out of the closet in their professional life, and manifest whatever it is that they want financially or title wise in that, and just really step into the life that they want for themselves. I'm a passionate supporter of mental health issues, racial justice, and equal rights. I serve as the president of two separate nonprofit boards that are really linked together. The first one is NAMI Franklin County, which is the National Alliance on Mental Illness, the Franklin County, Ohio chapter of that. And we, in late 2020, we started a foundation called the Family Mental Health Foundation of Ohio, which is a supporting organization for NAMI Franklin County, where we could accept larger, bequests and donations into the organization, grow those with some investments, and actually be able to fill some of the gaps monetarily for services, because often NAMI Franklin County, the funds that we get are restricted to certain causes and certain purposes. So we can only use those funds to deliver certain programs. And there oftentimes comes up things where that kind of fall in the gaps. And so that foundation is helping us to fill those gaps. So just a little bit about me, or maybe more than you wanted to know about me. I was assigned female at birth and given the name Susan, but I was born a boy, and that's what I knew from the beginning of my recollection. The beginning of my memory is I was a boy. And the first time I ever told anybody my name was Scott, I was 6 years old, and we had just moved into our new home, and I was meeting the girls that live next door, and they asked me my name, and I told them Scott, and then I proceeded to run into the house and hide. But here I've got a picture of me on the left-hand side. There's a picture of me at 18 months old, and then one at 17, 18 years old, my senior picture in high school. In elementary school, my parents used to force me to wear dresses to school, and I'd do stuff like either get to school and change into my softball jersey and painter pants, or if I was the last one to leave, I would just go to school in that. But I would make sure if somebody was going to be home before I got home, I'd change back into the dress that they sent me in to get there. I was taught really early to be ashamed of who I was because of the reactions when I told people I was a boy and the things that I wanted to do and the way I wanted to dress. The reactions they gave me were really, really, really strong. And I came from a heavy-handed discipline environment, so fear played a big role in stuff, and so I suppressed a lot of things, and uh, learned from that to be ashamed of who I was and separate and be isolated very, very, very early. I came out to my family as a lesbian at 18, and I had actually kind of moved out from my house at 17 as a test run, and then ended up coming out to them at 18. And my parents and we didn't speak very much at all for the next 11 years. They took me out of the will, took me out of the caregiving for my younger siblings, and that was just not only was it traumatic, but it was something that set the precedent for the remainder of the way that I operated in life. And that was that I was basically in the closet everywhere except for home and with friends. I was in the closet in my career. And so I was basically living two separate lives for the majority of my life. I will say nearly 20 years of my career has been in tech. So, as many of you know, that's very male oriented, often has been white male oriented, and I was be the only female in the room. And, in a lot of ways, people looked at me as one of the guys, but I was in the closet. I kept a separate profile. I didn't talk about what I did on the weekends or who I did it with, and spent a lot of energy protecting myself from that. Today, well, I came out, became aware of being on the transgender spectrum at 47. I say became aware, as I said earlier, I already knew I was, but then everybody made me hide that and shut that down, so that wasn't a thing. But when that started coming back out for me at 47, I had to do something about it. And I started transitioning at 47. Today, I'm married. I've been married for just over 6 years. In fact, uh, we got married prior to my transition. We married 2 weeks after the SCOTUS decision for same-sex marriage. We were part of the Loud and Proud that the city of Columbus did. Vowed and Proud. I'm sorry, that's the name of it. We have I have two adult stepchildren, two grandsons. You see here on the right, the oldest, about 3 years ago, we got to go visit him in Nashville. That's Dominic. I adore my grandsons. They're awesome. Never in my life would I thought I've been married, have any kids, have any grandkids, be a papa. I love all of that. So that was probably way more than I wanted to spend on that. Before we go on, I know this environment, usually I spend a lot of time about rules of engagement. I know we're all, community here, so we really don't have to talk about this being a safe space where we can talk about difficult things, some stuff that can produce anxiety for some of us. So, about being respectful of one another. I know I don't need to go into that, but just a reminder of it. The points of views that I share here and express here are based on my own experience, education, and research. I cannot and do not represent everyone and what it's been like for them. So while our experiences might have some similarities, they are all unique and beautiful in their challenges and privileges. So
Scott, I don't know if you're following along the chat thread.
I can't see it.
Okay. So Rebecca mentioned that, thank you for sharing your story. And I also mentioned that, you're a symbol of human resilience. You stuck to it, you know, and did come out. So
Yes.
congratulations every
Thank you.
single day.
Thank you. Yeah, technically, or the way the most of the world would see it, I've come out twice, right? Come out as lesbian,
Right.
come out as transgender. But I think everybody on this call can understand that we're constantly coming out, right? I have a new phone call with somebody else, or go see a new doctor, or or something. We're constantly, it's a cycle, and we never totally get out unless you have the experience, like, and I hate to say her name because I have a lot of my own personal stuff that I won't bring into it on viewpoints on Caitlyn Jenner. But unless you do it at that level where you're publicly saying this is what I am out to everybody on media, right? You're gonna do this on a repeated basis. So it's tough. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. And if stuff comes up in the chat, let me know, because I can't see it
Okay.
the way the
I
screens
will.
are.
I will share.
I am sharing, obviously, some personal stories. I ask that you keep them within this space. And for those that watch this on recording later, keep it within space, because you know, I don't mind if you share the context of a story, but please don't include personally identifying information, because these are my stories to tell. But context is okay. I do this because I'm passionate and committed to making this world a better place for each of us. And I want to bring greater understanding and connection between all of us. So that's that. So with that, what does it really mean to be authentic? Because we talk about that, a lot of businesses at these days are saying, we want you to bring your full self to work and bring your authentic self, and all of that. So what does it mean to be authentic? And dictionary definition wise, it's the degree to which your actions are congruent with your values and your desires, despite external pressures to social conformity. So that's the rub for me on that, particularly in companies saying, we want you to bring your whole self to work, or your authentic self to work, is that it discounts the fact that I have always brought my entire self to work. I have not always let people see all those aspects of it because of social conformity, but it has always been there. And you'll see a little bit later some of the cost of managing that. I am always there, but if I am not showing people who I am, then there's a lot of cost and exposure for me in that. With me as your speaker, it's fair to think that I'm just talking about, an LGBTQ person keeping that aspect of their life secret, or being in the closet. But honestly, this applies to Black people wearing their natural hair, wearing something that is ethnically supportive, somebody wearing a hijab, in the workplace, showing whatever aspects of yourself are part of your values and your characteristics and your desires. And this applies to all of that, you know. So it's not just about being in the closet around gender identity or sexual orientation. So why might people choose to hide or navigate around aspects of their identity? Often the number one thing is safety. As you all know, many places aren't safe. We just talked about, Facebook not being a safe place for minorities and marginalized communities. Even the virtual spaces aren't always a safe space for us. So that's safety is a main reason for us to hide aspects of our personal characteristics and our values. It's still legal in 32 states for a transgender person to be denied access to housing and healthcare. 28 states for sexual orientation discrimination. It's absurd to me and unacceptable in 2022 that we still have that, but it's true. Many times also people are hiding who they are because it's driven by fear, which stems from beliefs that we have either inherited from our families or communities, or come up with from ourselves from one or two personal experiences we've had. But those beliefs are that we'll lose something that's dear to us, relationships or jobs, that those things will be at risk. And whether those things are real or perceived, there's the potential loss is still extremely frightening for people. And society's definitely given us many reasons to, believe that those possibilities could come true for us. Many times, somebody being in the closet and stuff is really, even just at a kind of more superficial level of just wanting to fit in. Brene Brown says that fitting in is about assessing a situation and then becoming who you need to be accepted in that situation. Whereas belonging doesn't require us to change who we are. It requires us to be who we are in that situation. And so I'm always trying to work more on helping people create environments where they feel like they belong, where they're belonging in the environment and not just fitting in to be accepted. The costs that come from being in the closet that I talk about, there are certainly life and death consequences, right? There are a number of people who, our suicide rates in the LGBTQ community are exponentially higher than the rest of the general population. And a lot of that comes from feeling isolated. We keep ourselves hidden from who we are and don't have connection to others, and we're isolated and we're tormented by that, and we don't have an outlet. And so there's a very real potential cost and life-threatening cost when it comes to it. There's also physical wellness things that manifest. There's a high rate of addiction and self-medicating in our communities, trying to deal with being in situations where we're not comfortable and we're not fully ourselves. We can have weight and blood pressure issues, high levels of cortisol. The more stress that we're under, the cortisol is the stuff that we produce when we're under stress. The more that you're experiencing that, they have shown that high levels of cortisol can, reduce your lifespan and take away years of your life when you're under that kind of stress for that period of time, for long periods of time. There's social aspects, right? Not having true connections with one another, not really being connected and have that bond that makes us, even in this virtual world, make it so that we're not feeling isolated, that we're being heard, we're being seen, and we're valued. There's also, from a social aspect, I know whenever I've been in the workplace and I've let me check my clock because my little timer thingy, there it is. Okay. I spent a lot of time with dialogue going on in my head, sometimes about wondering what my boss or somebody was thinking in the workplace. Were they outing me? Were they clocking me as lesbian or trans? And what did they think? And was that going to affect my job? And I'd have this dialogue going on. In the process of all of that mind chatter happening, I would be half listening to the conversations that were happening, or half participating in what was going on, because I had that chatter going on. And then if I was responding to somebody about something, I was editing stuff. If somebody asked me what I did over the weekend, I was editing pronouns and not letting people know I was doing, lesbian related things or that kind of stuff. And there was just so much energy in that. And then there's also, financial wellness issues that came out of that stuff. Many people in the community don't advance in their careers and make the money they desire. And there's a number of reasons for that. Some of that is all that energy I was just talking about before, that I was spending with mind chatter and doing all of that. I'd lose productivity. I'd lose engagement in the things I was doing. And have, fewer or less good. That's not a very good term, but not as good connections with people. And I would say, maybe people would trust me less if they felt like I was hiding something or shielding something, and just not having the trust and respect that comes when you know somebody and you're vulnerable and share that kind of information with people, and people begin to trust you more than that. But there's also another aspect, and one thing that goes to financial wellness. And if I might share with you guys a little bit more of story about it that really impacted my financial well-being, my career path, uh, where I ended up in management and that stuff. And that is from not being myself in the workplace. One of the things that showed up, some of the ways it showed up for me was, the first thing was I made a choice to not join the Air Force because I would have been expected to wear dresses and skirts to things, and I couldn't do that. I mean, I turned down management jobs and other promotions because of dress code. And again, that was always related to this business attire, because women were expected to wear dresses and skirts and hose and heels. And I have to tell you, I would have panic attacks just simply going to try to buy those clothes, let alone actually wear them somewhere. Wearing them was awkward and excruciating for me. So I never had the chance to actually be stopped by the glass ceiling that was there because I couldn't get past the dressing room curtain. That I was just stuck by it. This all meant that I didn't reach my financial and earning power and my potential, no matter what I was doing, because it was always getting edited by that, either by me or by others. Because when I was wearing uh, more gender neutral or masculine clothes in the workplace, I wasn't getting promoted because I wasn't looking like the professional that everybody else was in their little blue pencil skirt, suit, coat, whatever those things are called. I'm not a fashion person, so I'm not going to get all of that right. But, that held me back. That dress code thing held me back because I couldn't be open about who I am. And now that I'm out, and being who I am in the workplace, and I get to wear suits and ties and stuff, and I'm like, whoever thought I would ever say I get to dress up and do that stuff. But I like to dress up. I get to wear the suits and stuff that are comfortable for me, and that opened up the doors and the earning potential for me. So being my authentic self is what has helped me step into that. Um,
So can I ask a quick question here?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. The point about the financial well-being that you talked about, this is a very good a professor of mine going back, 20, 30 years ago. He at that time he came out and went through transgender, like everything, the whole surgery and everything, and nobody was talking about it then. This was late 1980s, at the age of 57, and was a very well-known economic historian, a very well-known, renowned economic historian. And the first question that she was asked when she went back into the conference circuit and everything academics do was, did her paycheck go down? Because was one of the most internationally renowned economic historian, making a shitload of money. And the answer was no. So I'm glad to hear that that the gender conforming financial benefits are still a case. Depends on which way you have transitioned, right?
Absolutely. That direction does matter and does in so many aspects, but definitely in that aspect. Yeah, I did joke around because I transitioned on the job at my career at Nationwide, and I joked around with, kind of joking,
Right.
part of it was real about
Real.
where's my other 27 cents on the dollar
Exactly.
from now that I'm male?
Right.
Because when I changed my auto, when all my stuff went through the systems, my auto insurance rates changed, my homeowners insurance rates changed, and everything else, right? So where's my pay rate change?
Right.
But that, I mean, we could go down a whole nother
The story, exactly.
direction with that for sure. Probably do a whole day workshop on it. But it is those things matter, um, and it can go either direction. But you know, the biggest thing is if we're not out with who we are, we're spending a lot of energy doing things to conform and navigate, and that energy can't be used then to productively um, uh, put into our career and our path and our business. So it does hold us back.
So
Um,
are you finding that employers, um, or should I say organizations or wherever we are working, um, since 2015-ish, using the Supreme Court, uh, law that came about, that they're um, much more welcoming to these conversations to happen and much more in tune to make it safe space. And I'm not talking from a perspective of HR. Okay.
yeah.
Obviously HR is going to promote these things, but large employers, small employers, what are you finding as different? Or do you think even evolution has happened, or should we always have our guard on?
I feel like it's beginning, right? But there's still such a long way to go. And you can't, I don't feel that you can bucket everybody and say, oh, the Fortune 500 are doing really well and moving forward, and small companies are not. I'm finding it's based on the values of the people who run the organization. Um, and so that for me as a consumer, I'm always looking to spend my dollars and support those whose values are in alignment with mine. And I can see that in not only their marketing spaces, but I can see that in the stuff around their recruitment and the way that they're showing up in the world and the things that they're supporting, right? I love Chick-fil-A sandwiches. I love Chick-fil-A chicken. I haven't had it in years, and I'm not going to. They're not getting my dollars because my dollars would come back to discriminate against me and other people that I care about. So I don't care how much I love that chicken. It's just not happening. And so I, I, you just have to be a discerning consumer. And that is the same as a discerning employee, right? When you're looking for a career, you got to be looking for um, companies that are walking the walk, not just talking the talk. There's a lot of talk out there right now. And, I made a post actually, it kind of goes back to the little bit of conversation that we were having about Facebook and the negative environment and the kind of fostering hate in there. I made a post the other day about companies ask me what they can do to forward their DE and I stuff, and I made a suggestion that when you're doing your recruiting and stuff, that when you are looking at people's social media stuff, if people are putting comments out there and shutting people down for being their authentic selves and saying negative, hateful things, don't bring them into your organization. Because they're not going to give you the environment and the values place that you want.
One of the things that, since we're all adults, that I as an observation that I've always made is assholes come out very easily,
Yes.
right? It
Yes.
doesn't stop them. There's no filter for them.
Right.
And so, why do you want to hire assholes if they've already come out?
Yeah, I think social media has made people self-identify prior to, people are
Correct.
self-identifying whether or not they're a good fit for your organization before, and that goes both ways, right? That
Right.
people that are out supporting one another and have empathy, they're putting that out there too. So certainly information that we can all use.
Absolutely. I'm sorry, I all those thoughts were going through my
Yeah,
head.
no, that's
I kind of
perfectly
interrupted
okay.
you.
That's
So
perfectly okay. I'll try to get back on track and maybe skip through a little bit in case, but you know, ask me whatever. This can be however it needs to go. I trust the universe on that. Um, I would say so, you know, thanks to steps that I took on my own authenticity journey. I worked with a coach. Um, I now embrace my identity. It's a part of obviously it's a part of the way I make a living now. I experience it as uh, my experience and my identity are my gifts, as I believe all of your experiences and your identities are the gift to this world. And so I'm working to create deep, long lasting relationships with people, with my clients, and help them align with their own values, not my values. Um, and it's giving me unlimited opportunities to help others and improve my financial well-being, my social health, my physical health. You know, I've lost weight, I feel better, my weight's down, my blood pressure's good. All of those things are doing much better, and I have more focus. I'm not going to say those dialogues are ever stopping, because I'm still filtering who I am sometimes, and that fear can rise, but it doesn't happen as often, and I feel much more happy. Um, and I help others do the same thing with my coaching, my 5 principles of authenticity, 5 principles of authentic leadership. I help other people do that. Some recommendations for people in stepping out, right? Because I mentioned my exhaustion and all the chatter and everything is because many others also say that they experience the same thing, being exhausted, feeling miserable, maybe suffering from chronic illness or depression. Um, like everyone else, you know, they just want to be happy and healthy, more resilient, better equipped to deal with stress, and have relationships that they really enjoy. So the second thing I like to talk about with people is creating a strong network for themselves. And really, this is a place with a lot of people who are um, where a lot of people are going to point you to doing self-care. And self-care is important. It's a legitimate uh, thing that to focus on, but you can find bucket loads of information out there elsewhere to do that. You don't need me to help you learn about self-care. But talking about building yourself a support system, your own board of directors, if you will, I think it's important, um, because it's very important for us in that feeling, that belonging, to be a part of a community, because we are, as human beings, wired to be connected to others. Um, so, you know, this is about building up a community around you, of people that you can go to for advice and support and love and caring when you're not getting it in other places. Um, you know, everybody needs that group of people. It's good for, you know, Black professionals to connect with other Black professionals, Indian professionals to connect with LGBTQ people to connect with other LGBTQ people. It's important. Our intersections are important, but it is important for us to have kind of a board of directors, right? And so many of us have one or two people in our lives that are constant people for us. But they're often yes people, right? They love us no matter what. They're going to support us no matter what. And what I'm really talking about here is having a group of like 3 to 5 people that you can turn to, um, first and foremost, that they will tell you if they're not able to be there for you that particular day, right? 3 to 5 people. That way, if the first couple of people aren't available when you need somebody, you still have somebody else to go to. So those numbers are important. But we need people who will call us on our stuff and be honest with us, so that we can get different perspectives, and we need different levels of support from different people. So one way I like to look at these friendships or board of directors relationships, is that we we have 2-minute friends, we have 2-hour friends, and we have 2-day friends, right? So what I mean by that is with a 2-minute friend, you have somebody you find the person's interesting, but you don't really want to spend a whole lot of time with them. You're happy to say hello to them, but you're also happy to say goodbye to them, right? Then you have your 2-hour friend who is somebody that you see regularly. You have more of a connection with them. Maybe you have coffee once or twice a month or lunch once or twice a month. And if you don't connect for a while, it's not a big deal, but you're on a deeper level than that 2-minute friend. Then you have your 2-day friends. And these are people that you want to spend a lot of time with. All right. You might even be willing to go on a week's vacation with these people, right? Spend an intimate, long period of time with these people. These are, I'm a motorcycle enthusiast person, so I would say these are my ride or die people. Ultimately, you want your board of directors to have a mix of these kinds of people so that you can get different information from them. You certainly want your yes people, so you have a cheerleader around, but you also want some people that have uh, uh, been on the same journey that you have. Maybe they're a little farther down the road. Like I said to Chris earlier about being 3 steps ahead of me, right? If he's 3 steps ahead of me, he can share with me where I need to head. It's just important to have a mix of these people. And it's unrealistic to think that any one or just 1 or 2 people could do all of that for us. So it's important to have that strong network. Another thing, 3 things, and I'll try to make this really quick. So, if you want to go into in depth inside that, we can do that later. The word discouraged means to deprive of courage or confidence. The French origins of the word actually mean to take away courage, meaning you had it at one point in time and now you don't. So there are times in our coming out journey, in all of our aspects of our life journey, that we get discouraged. It happens to all of us. Our enthusiasm and optimism can get quickly replaced by doubt and negativity. 3 things, just high level, that you can do to help manage when you're getting discouraged is, the first thing is manage your expectations of a situation. Manage your expectations around the people that you're interacting with, whether or not they can bring anything to the table for you. The next thing is to stop comparing yourself to others. Every single person has their individual pace and progress. Some of us take more or less time than others to come out. Gender identity and sexual orientation fall on a continuum, and each of us have a unique place on that continuum that doesn't match up with anybody else's place on that continuum. It's unique to us. So we might not have the same desired outcomes as others. And then lastly is to focus on your goals. Celebrate any progress that you make and any support that you get from other people in moving towards your goals, whether that's coming out to family or at work or whatever, or even other things not related to being out of the closet. Celebrate your progress, no matter how big or small. Just like in work, break things down into smaller, break those larger tasks into smaller tasks. Don't try to come out to the whole world at all at once. Pick somebody that you feel is pretty safe. Try that on for size. Get used to it. Do stuff. If you stall out, just pick yourself up and get back at it. If you find yourself stuck for extended periods of time, or you're much more down than you ever were before, maybe you find yourself indulging a bit too much in alcohol or stuff. Perhaps it's important at that point in time to seek some professional assistance through an associate program or something like that. Definitely, if you get stuck in down and for a long time, like I said before, I have a mental health bias, so I'm going to say to people, please feel comfortable, get get the help that you need. It's important because you're important and you're valuable. My motto has long been, do it afraid. The reality is courage cannot exist without fear, right? There's no need for courage if there's not something you're afraid of. So you're going to be afraid of it. Do it anyway. Do it afraid. And your courage will build every time you do stuff. One good thing to remember is that physiologically, fear and excitement show up the exact same way. The same shakes, the same fast heart rate, the same body sweating, the same like shaking your voice. Your body does the exact same thing, no matter whether you're afraid or you're excited. So, one mental trick around stuff is, you know, the next time that you're starting to do something, I do this before I'm speaking, right? And I start to feel all the excitement and the jitters and the nervousness and everything. I remind myself that I'm doing this because I'm excited, like I would be if I was going on a new roller coaster. Not because I'm terrified, because I, think something bad's around the corner. And that mental switch can really help me manage some of that anxiety. So the next time that you're feeling physical signs of being afraid, just tell yourself, I feel like this because I'm about to do something fun and new. And it just may help you get through that and have that courage. Want to take a moment to remind you to be gentle with yourself as you're doing stuff. If you're struggling, reach out for help. And don't forget, always, like, whatever you're experiencing, this too shall pass. It'll get different. Just give it a minute. I feel like right now, this is a time for us to create a new community where authentic living is alive and well on this planet. And like the song from the movie says, I know there's a place for us. So I want us to go out and create that together. It kind of ties into that comment Naomi brought up earlier about Facebook. If those social media platforms aren't out there, you guys are all tech people. Maybe it's in the cards for you guys to create that platform for all of us in marginalized communities to do that social networking where we can then move away from platforms that are not as supportive with us. And with that, that's really a wrap up. So if you want to connect with me outside of this and stuff, you can hit me up on the social medias, including the ones we talked about that aren't the greatest, but that's where people are. If you'd like to access my free 5 Principles of Authentic Leadership, you can hit that link or do that little QR code. It'll take you out there. You can you just put your email in, all that. Does all that double opt-in stuff for the privacy the privacy stuff, and then it'll give you a link out to a video that is my 5 Principles of Authentic Leadership and a little bonus out there. The last thing really quick, because I went way probably over what Dhruva was thinking, is that the biggest myth about being out is that you have to be all in, or perhaps more appropriately, all out. And that's simply not true. You are allowed to expand and contract as you need to. Your personal financial matters, your moral code, your physical well-being, they're all very hard and very real things for you to consider in various situations. And it's okay to expand and contract, be out there more, not be out as much. It's just important to pay attention to your own self and drive through that. Yeah, that's it. So go be you.
Go be you.
I wrote down, I don't know if you saw me like look down constantly, like writing down tons of stuff as you're talking, as if this is a class. But okay, so I'm gonna share with the rest of you that literally every time I've ever talked to Scott, which is only twice so far, I think, or one was virtual, he says something that blows my mind. So I'm only going to mention that one thing this time. And it was what he said earlier around when you are in a space and you are working to protect yourself in that space. And actually, I wish Chris was here because he and I had a really great conversation around being Black and protecting yourself and, you know, just being a different group demographic or whatever you have, and, you know, doing things to protect yourself. And um, you had mentioned that, you know, you have, and I don't know if this is the right word, but like some sort of like some mental anxiety or something. You're thinking, oh wait, did they just come out for me, or did they just say something, or what did they mean by that? Was that a dig at my identity? You know, and you have these things going on in the back of your mind, and what it translated to me, like how I kind of equated it into like, especially my industry, is that that is a lot more mental labor that you are exerting every day, and maybe even every minute of every day that you're around people. And when you are exerting that much mental labor, and we live in a disruptive time, and we are work in an industry where it's so important for us to have the mental space to be creative, because we are, I mean, that's why we have the jobs that we have. Otherwise, a computer can do it. Anything that doesn't require being creative and innovative, a computer can probably do. So I need that extra mental space to be able to create. And if I'm constantly, you know, like using up all this mental labor, thinking about all these other things, like, you know, what is that supposed to mean? And how does that equate to me? Or just trying to like put up a wall to protect yourself, that also financially, right? If you're not creating new stuff, you're not creating results. Get results, get results, get results, right?
Yes.
Then you're not getting promoted.
You're not. Yeah.
You blow
And
my
people
mind.
can, you know, people can take that, they interpret your presentation and your showing up, your engagement, however they're seeing it, right? And they don't, if they don't necessarily know all of that's going on in behind the scenes, they're just thinking, you know, you don't work very hard, or you're not very smart, or you're not very creative, or all of these other things. But there's even aspects of it, that show up in whether or not you feel comfortable speaking up, right? Um, everything in this system that we have is gender biased, or genderized, I'm going to say, and the roles, the way that we're trained. And so you get a mix of you know, men are taught to be vocal, speak their opinion, put stuff out there. Women are supposed to be reserved, you know, have tea parties, not rugby matches. And so you have that training. What happens when you have someone who's trans and who's growing up in those things sometimes are, and it's not just trans, because it could just be someone with a more masculine identity, even if they're not trans, of feeling more boisterous and vocal and stuff, but you're a female, so you're not supposed to, so you're loud and pushy and bitchy. Whereas, you know, someone who's a trans woman growing up in the male thing doesn't feel comfortable, and they're not speaking up because they identify more with that quiet, reserved female thing. And even if you're appearing like you fit into the gender that everybody's assigning to you, you're not coming out, right? So you're still not achieving what you could be doing just because of all of that role stuff. And it's just crazy. I mean, there's layers of it's like peeling back an onion. There's so many layers and aspects to everything.
There's one other thing that you said that I thought was a really great way that you put it. Um, Recently, I went to this class on allyship so that I can learn to be a better ally.
Hmm.
I don't know what that means, but and I don't know why I put it in quotes. But
I think because it's like bringing your whole self to work, right? It's one of those terms of the day for businesses to use. So it's like, I don't, yeah.
Yeah, and so, and I think I'm pretty woke, and I think I'm pretty with it and open, and I try to be non-judgmental. I'm not quite there yet, Scott, but I try. Um, and I what you said was the board of directors phrase, like that term. And when I was in that allyship class, what the speaker was saying was, find yourself, and you said, find yourself 3 to 5 people. And I like the idea of the board of directors because the different people on that board of directors that you have for your own entity, which is yourself, they all have different skill sets, and you would find, and the whole idea was you get an ally to represent you and be your voice when you're not invited to the room. So there are times where there might be a conference room, or not even a like an official type business room, but just a space, a locker room or whatever, where somebody says something, and if you have a board of director person or an ally who is in that space and hears something, and they are your voice or speak up for you even though you're not there, like that, just I think that's going to help change perceptions.
Mhm. I think so. I see that comment about being heated twice. Um, I have openly spoken at I openly spoke at Nationwide about the difference that I had experienced with the same group of people that I had worked with for years, where I would bring ideas and thoughts to the table, and I would get dismissed when I was there as a female. And then suddenly, 6 months after my transition, when people were really more comfortable with me being Scott, and particularly when physically was manifesting stuff, right? I started having a beard and stuff. People were asking me to join meetings and asking my opinion and inviting me to put this stuff in that before, when I put it out there and raised my hand and my voice, they would, give me a nod, but then basically dismiss. And it happens all the time.
And I'll tell you, I'm the one that put that comment there, and the first time, and it often happens with a woman. Like I have a woman who does that. Naomi, you have something, and I'm going to stop. I'm putting myself on mute because I am going to stop talking.
I hope I do not take too much time, because everything that was said here, all the exchange is so inspiring, and it's just like a catalyst. And I see that there are a point that was brought about the mental labor, the extra mental labor, where there are these layers of the intersectionality that happens as a negative experience, happens also inside our minds, inside our heads, as in you have to think about how you are going to be perceived as multiple layers, and everything that Scott shared, and Dhruva, and Jill, and there was all these. I can identify with so many things, and including the negative mental state, and toxicity at the workplace. So, but there is one thing that, from my personal experience, that I am trying to make sense of all of this in a way, because I have only so much power. And you're right about the fact that you want to have your mind for any kind of profession, including actually for your own life, your own enjoyment, even without job. You want to have that peace. You want to have that space where you have that, warmth inside, without having to worry about not only yourself, but your people in a sort of, let's say, restrictive way, no matter how you define them, or the people you care for, or the people you empathize with because you understand and you feel, etc., etc. Like all these humans, with all the type of intersection and all the connections that they have to you. And I grew up in in Morocco, in Africa. And one of the things that jumps to my mind is I noticed, for example, how I would say some people within the mainstream white culture are completely oblivious about the complexity of the geopolitics of the world outside. And sometimes I feel that they are so lucky, they don't care. They don't have to care. I have to think about even countries that I was born in only one country, but I still identify spiritually with that continent. And it's like it means something to me, and I understand its history and its pain. And I get angry when somebody has the wrong criticism. There is a lot of criticism about things that are not well managed and problems, but sometimes there is the whole wrong criticism, as you know, like there is a layer of racism, and there is a layer of misunderstanding, and there is a layer of perpetuating the exploitation, but fundamentally saying African cannot start by themselves, right? There is so many layers of, and I am trying to make some sort of sense of all of this, in the sense that the only way where I going to keep my sanity somehow is to have a mission, to put my energy into a mission, to dream about a bigger dream, in the sense that as you said, like, for example, when you are buying or boycotting a company, like it takes a lot of work and effort to identify which product, which company, and you try to use as much reason and as much information as you can. And it can be also an opportunity for you to learn more about your own thought process, because sometimes you can be manipulated by the marketing. So it's an opportunity for you to learn. So, so I'm like, every action that I make, if it's mission driven by something good, something better for everyone, something fair, justice, truth, making everybody have the feeling that they have the power and the access and the equality, because it's feeling powerless. That's the most terrifying, because especially when you understand the world and you can only be a spectator, and it's extremely, it's terrifying. That's despair. Like, to me, that's despair, because if you don't know, you don't have the emotion. But when you know and you watch the train wreck in action and you know where it's going, we have so much history, we have so much knowledge, and we need to structure that to make it as a tool. And what I'm realizing also, one of my passion, because sometimes I wonder why I am passionate about technology, because sometimes it's so cold and it's dominated by big companies like, let's say, Facebook, who have the jobs. Like, I'm not applying to Facebook to work, although in terms of engineering and technology, they are amazing. And I'm not even saying that I'm going to get hired or anything, but it's like one of these examples where if I have knowledge, I want to put it at the service of a company that at least is going to be less worse. Not necessarily the best, not necessarily everything, but at least where I know that there is a minimum level of humanity and care and awareness and giving back and generosity and humility. So it's almost like I feel like technology is a weapon, and we do need weapons, but these are a good one. It's a good weapon because it's like a martial art. Martial arts are not bad. Knowing how to use weapons is not bad. And we are lacking this because usually it's presented as weapons are for destruction. But weapons have always been for defense, for self-defense, and for, like, that's how humans survived forever. And technology is a new weapon that as much as somehow, like, if you are missing part of your identity that you can't express, but you find an opening in learning or arts or crafts and expression and technology, you can take that energy and make it something that works for you and for the people you care for and for the people you know who can understand you or understand parts of you, or at least not harm you. So that's what I took from this. But thank you so much for this opportunity. It's amazing. It's been such a pleasure listening to you and seeing also some of the experiences that.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. I love all of that. Yeah, I talked about going out and creating the world that we want. I want to work on creating a world where a differently abled or disabled, if you will, Black trans woman is free to exist, be visible, and have access to everything that we all want access to. That's the world I want, because if she has access and she is safe and she has health care, then all of the rest of us do, because she has more of the intersections than any of us. And so I want to create that world. But resources are limited, right? My financial resources, my time resources, I try to give them to things to help create that world, and sometimes stretch myself a little bit too thin. I recently kind of got an awareness of I could have an exponential impact in that, and in driving and creating that world, if I'm coaching the people who are doing those things. So I'm doing what I do best, which is coaching people and helping them get from point A to point B where they want to be. I'm doing what I have the time and resources to, but I'm uplifting all those people that are doing the other things that need to happen, and collectively, high tides lift all boats, right? So we're all we rise together. And so I've narrowed it down, and I financially help a couple of things, and I give my time to mental health stuff with NAMI and stuff, but I've pulled back in some of the other things that I was doing and focused on my coaching, and try to get my coaching to people who are doing all those other things that I can't get out and be the the foot soldier for. So I think there's more of us here that are driven on love and support and connectedness than there are who are out there to continue to support the existing patriarchal supremacist system that we have. I think there's more of us, and if we connect and lift one another up, the tide will the teeter-totter will shift, and we will get there together.
So let's do a quick roundtable, so that if anybody else has questions for Scott or any of this conversation. So, Vinny, you still there?
I am still here.
Do you have any comments or anything to make?
Just
For
absolutely.
Saul, you just sound like shit.
Awesome talk. Like I loved every minute of it. I've loved listening to it. I'm glad I was able to be on here and listen. So thank you so much for coming tonight. That's all I got.
Thanks, Vinny.
Thanks, Vinny.
Rebecca, you've been awfully quiet.
I'm still driving. That's why.
Oh, okay.
But thank you for inviting me. It was wonderful. Thank you, Scott, for sharing.
Thanks.
Thanks, Rebecca. Isaiah?
I was going to say thank you for coming out.
Could you all hear him?
I could not.
Okay. You want to just repeat quickly, Isaiah? Sorry.
Hold on. Sorry.
Now we can.
That's better.
Better now?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry about that. I just wanted to say I really enjoyed having the opportunity to hear from you tonight, and I actually really appreciate you like being intentional about helping folks and kind of supporting folks in this avenue. It's I think like really hearing you talk about it, it's like as an adult person that's kind of been in this community for a minute, sometimes I almost kind of forget how much like we actually navigate and how much folks actually navigate. So having folks like you in this space is really great. So thank you so very much for that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Isaiah. Do come back to our next meetings. Rachel, tell us about your dogs, and then tell us about the rest.
Yes, Murphy decided he needed to be included and join the talk here today.
We
so
welcome Murphy.
sorry if he was distracting, but he's a very needy.
No, wonderful.
Yeah, it's always interesting to hear new perspectives and different perspectives, and I've kind of had a unique journey myself. I previously worked for a Christian nonprofit organization where I wrote a JIRA story that said if the first person's female, the next person has to be male. They can't be same sex. But then again, I also wore a tie to work. I was there for 5 years and I was promoted 4 times. So, just because, we all have the freedoms to have our beliefs and whatnot. So, it's interesting to hear of other people's thought processes and experiences, because mine has been very different from a lot of those in our community. So appreciate your story and all the information you shared.
Thanks, Rachel. Zach?
Yeah, I thought it was a great conversation. Yeah, I was really glad that I could attend today. I don't have anything additional to add. I think everybody had a lot of good ideas that they brought. We'll listen to. Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Robin? You're on mute, honey.
I didn't want to make any noise, so start the presentation. This was just fabulous. Scott, thank you so much for being here. And I mean, I really, it was very intriguing, and like some of the things that you were saying were like rang a lot of bells for me and my experience, and just different spaces of having not just work. Well, a lot of it was work, but just different spaces of having to protect yourself or having to go through all of this sort of mental stuff about how you're presenting, or how you're going to, what approach you're going to take to, yeah, and it's exhausting. But I mean, that's like a lot of my past story. Now I'm just pretty much, I'm myself, and I would never go back to some of those places. Or I'm just like, yeah, I'm who I am, and I don't care. But yeah, I could relate to a lot of it. Just being a Black lesbian, and having come out years and years ago when things were a lot different. And yeah, I thought that it was fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing and coming and speaking with us this evening.
Awesome. Thanks, Robin. Just a quick story. I have been always out, as most of you know, and I've shared this story with others. But this is for you, Scott. My biggest realization of how many times we have to come out came actually in recent times. I was doing a project with a major multinational here in Columbus, Ohio, and I was helping a team. I was their UX person, just helping them design a data as a service platform. And we had all gone out for a drink, and these were the oldest in the group was 25 years younger than me, right? and so we all went out. They were all straight men of different ethnicities, and while we were out having a beer, this guy turns to me and says, "So what does your husband do?" And like at that moment, at this time in my life, I'm like going, wait, what signals am I sending to these people? Like, how could I not be out? Like, isn't that obvious? Like, I've talked about my spouse. I mean, it's like, wait, why did they not connect? I mean, I had that little moment of panic, like exactly what signals am I sending to people that this question would be directed at me. So I think the importance of you know d- being observant about our presence, and especially folks like me who are in leadership positions. I really appreciated your conversation about the board of directors. And this is something that Vinny and I have chatted a lot about. That once you get to a place where you are leading a project or leading, a company, it gets very you cannot discuss everything with your employees. I tried that and they freaked out. Like I was sharing too much, right? And so they were treating me as their boss at that time. And the minute they switch from a friendship to a boss, it becomes a completely different perspective of what I was narrating to them. I was just looking for, hey, we're just chit-chatting, right? But
Right.
about the company, but I shouldn't be doing that. And I think that board of directors concept was very valuable because I had, for my first tech startup, I had to create a board of directors simply for having objective ideas coming to me because I could not share it with the people who worked for us. I could not share it even with an equal person, like comparable person who was like the CTO of the company because, everything had implications. And
Yep.
so it becomes lonelier and lonelier as you get in higher positions of leadership. And so I think the board of directors and having an executive coach is a very, very important thing, whether they help you to come out and be your authentic self, or even how to lead, or even how to share, that you're going to be firing all these people, and the trauma
Yes.
that you're going through, that conversation to have. So it was very good. I really
Thank you.
appreciated your perspective on that. So bring that equation together. Um, I would really encourage folks who are not yet Zeta stars to please become Zeta stars. Starting with February's events, we will start charging like $5, just because we want attendance. A lot of people register, a lot of people don't show up, so we kind of wanted to, get more people in. Also to let you know that the last Wednesday, I forget which day that is, what date it is, but we are having um, starting the new year with new careers discussion. A local group here, recruiting company, Level DNI, will be doing, sort of speed networking with your careers. And if you're looking for different opportunities, that's our topic. The February's topic event is going to be about change management. And then sometime either March or April, we are planning to have a hackathon for, we still haven't decided what topic, but it is going to be in collaboration with Olive AI. So we have a lot of important things coming up. Anytime, if you want to speak or do an event with us, please let us know. Naomi, if you want to, do an event with us, we are going to be doing virtual for quite a long time. We were planning to transition over to something, but Omicron and the fear of mask in Central Ohio that people have shown, it's not going to happen, soon enough. So, um, anybody had anything else to add?
I hope that from a work standpoint, I'd be okay if we never went anything but virtual, but it's this kind of stuff where I do want to, meet you guys in person and get connected that way.
Absolutely.
Um,
We
I
did one event in December. That's how, um, we did require vaccine card, that will be a requirement. So we
That's cool.
got a lot of pushback, surprisingly. One pushback to Dhruva was apparently we were discriminating against people who did not get vaccinated. And my attitude towards that was we do discriminate against morons. So, like, be done
I
with
did
that.
not, just for the record, I did not phrase it that way to the person. I said, thank you for your feedback. this is the requirement, and it's unfortunate that you won't be able to join us.
That's a very political way to do that. Good job on that. We're being socially responsible and protecting our members the best we can.
Or we could have just said, morons are not welcome, but that's okay.
Yeah.
With that, this was a great session. Thank you all for joining. Come back.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
inviting me into your
Awesome.
space. I appreciate it.
Come back, Scott.
Oh, I will. I already signed up as a star.
I know
so
you
know
are a
I will.
star.
I have left my tech career and I don't ever really want to go back, but I still have a passion for tech, so I feel like I could stay as, one of those emeritus people.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks all.
Everybody.
Thank you.
Good night.
Have a good night.
Yep.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
again. Thank you all. It's good to see you.